here with Michelle, and she's going to share her testimony today. So, Michelle, what would be your word or your sentence to describe your life before you came to Jesus Christ?
Scary and fearful.
Okay.
I think, before, without direction from God, I just kind of tried to do things on my own, and it became fearful in many situations because I didn't have the proper guidance. I tried to figure it out and do it by myself. And I was in a violent situation several times. God's kept me from, and I praise Him for that. And I just didn't know from day to day. Without the right path, you don't know what tomorrow's going to have, and no solid foundation to stand upon with that. So because of that, I was just scared every day. I had that paranoid fear, anxiety would come upon me. I remember there was times that, I was having to take medicine for anxiety from the doctor because things weren't lining up like they should be without God. And I remember one time the physician said, maybe it's not us needing to adjust your medicine, maybe it's you needing to adjust your life. And I was very defensive about that at that time. I was like, what does he know? He don't know what he's talking about. But he I've always thought back about that. He was a good man of God. And years later, I was able to get that away from me, and I'm glad God came along and got me straight.
That's great. Can you tell me about the day the Lord saved you?
It was actually at night, and I will give you a little background. Like, I grew up in church, so my first salvation when I was younger, I was very young, and I wanted to say, I don't remember the age, 7, 8 years old, and growing up in church, being in a youth group and things like that, I always was able to find God, and I was saved then. Well, as I got into my teenage years and went out on my own and doing things that I thought were right, but they weren't, and things kind of got crazy there for a while. I went through a marriage and divorced, and then I was in a bad relationship after that. Started out okay, but we were like 5 years we had a bad relationship, and it became violent. There was drugs involved. Not that I was doing as many, but I was involved with things. But the guy that I was with was into a lot more, and I thought I could fix him. I'm going to stay around. I'm going to fix this. There was a lot. I'm kind of headstrong, so there was a lot of fighting and arguing and things going on that was really bad. But one night, I had kind of felt things escalating, and I had seen people in my life trying to, testify and get me to go to church and do a little bit better. They'd say, you're not living your life right, and things like that. And of course, I was all defensive about it. Nah, I'm okay. I can do it. And so one night we had been out and came back home, and I remember we had already been fighting all week about some drug issues with him. I'd throw stuff away. It was just really bad, and it got physically violent that night. And I remember I was scared at first, but then I remember going around to the side of my bed, and he was on the other side of the room. And I remember that I was on the floor, and I don't remember if mentally I thought about kneeling down for God, but I was in the floor. And I remember I was crying out to him, and I asked him to help me. I was like, Lord, help me in this situation. Lord, get me out of this situation I'm in. Give me peace, Lord. And I remember that peace came over me so quickly, that it's like nothing I've never experienced before, in a sense that I've had peaceful things come over as far as sickness and things that's come against me that I knew He took care of. But this was a peace like I knew that it was going to be all right from that moment on. And so I was so defiant too at that point, because I just looked straight up, and I never would have done it before, but I said, when he came around the side of the bed, I said, you're never going to hurt me again. And I just did it with such boldness, and he just turned and walked away, and it was like amazing, because that normally would not have happened. We'd still be fighting. So God really helped me then, and I would like to say that instantly my life turned around and got perfectly better. But it didn't, it was a lot of things I had to work through, but I knew from that moment on, God started putting things to help me get to where I am today.
That's amazing. That's beautiful, Michelle. And what word or sentence would you use to describe your life now?
Oh, it's
Today.
blessed. It's blessed, abundantly blessed. You know, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about how good God's been to me. Whew. I'm sorry.
It's
But
okay.
He, you know, every day is a new blessing. No matter what comes before me, I don't have that fear. Not only did He take the fear out of my life from violence, negativity, drugs, things around me that I didn't need to be involved in, He also took negativity and fear out of my life for other things like sickness, family situations. You know, if you listen and be slow to speak about what God has you to do, then that's all you need to do. The fear will go away. He's put me on a solid place to build everything that I've got. You know, and I just look amazed at a beautiful home, a beautiful family, a loving church family. I've got thousands of friends that, you know, I may have had a handful before, but I have so many people that I look up to and that are just such a blessing.
So what would you say to somebody watching this today, Michelle? What advice would you have for them if they're feeling anxious and they're feeling afraid like you were before?
Right. Well, they don't need to give up, and they need to really start praying. Praying's the main thing. Until I sat down or knelt down and prayed to Him and said really what I needed to come into my life, it didn't develop. I couldn't do it on my own. I would say quit trying to do things on your own. Have God with you no matter what it is. If you've got a sore finger, pray about it. Don't think it's too minor, because God can take it and fix it. He can fix your life. He can make you so much better than what you are.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Michelle.
You're welcome. God loves y'all.